Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we have a very special guest joining us to talk about his ProQuest experience over the weekend. Tobias Lindh, say hi.
Hello, everybody.
He managed to go 15-1 over the weekend across two different ProQuests, taking down the second with an undefeated 9-0 record with Oldhim. Which is pretty amazing. So just tell us where you're from.
I'm from Sweden. I live in Stockholm right now, but I'm from a little bit up north in the mountains. But right now I live in Stockholm, Sweden. So
Awesome.
it's good.
How long have you been playing card games?
Oh, started playing card games with Fab about a year ago. I got into it by watching some YouTube but yeah, I just got into it and thought it looked good. I was playing some miniature games before that and stuff like that. So
Wow,
I
so
just
Flesh and Blood was your first card game.
yeah, it was first card game. So I tried a couple of Blitz armories back in February last year, and then I kind of took a hiatus, for a couple of months during Monarch because I really didn't like any of those characters. But then when they announced the Road to National seasons and they announced that it was going to start in Sweden, so then I started to try to play again. Found a couple of other people in Stockholm, and we started to practice for Road to Nationals. And my first in real life events was Road to Nationals in Stockholm. Like that tournament really got me hooked.
Yeah, I think that's a story for a lot of people. I mean, Flesh and Blood's an amazing game to start with, that's for sure.
Yeah.
All right, so what made you decide to play Oldhim for the ProQuest this weekend? Was it like familiarity with the deck, or was it like a meta call? What were your thoughts on that?
I really like Oldhim. Like I think I wanted to play him since he came out. I did not take him to nationals because I didn't think I and he was ready for it. Like the decks that were out then, and I'm not like the best brewer. I'm more take stuff other people have and like fine tune it to my liking. But then I've been jamming Oldhim since like mid November, since after our nationals, and I really felt that right before Everfest came out, I really felt that it was the best deck that I could beat everything. And then Everfest came out, and I didn't feel that anymore. So I got really like, oh crap. So I had a couple of weeks of going back and forth with how do I do this, how do I make him work, and then I just decided that I know the lines. I'm just going to play my games and just not make any mistakes and hope that is enough. And so I took all it.
Yeah, I share the same thoughts with you. I feel like a lot of people in this game, like, there's a deck that's the new meta. They tend to gravitate towards that, but when they play it, they don't know all the lines or anything like that. So even if their deck is supposed to counter another deck, they tend to fall short. Because
Yeah,
in a game of inches, like one little mistake can just cost you the entire game. So I think
yeah.
that being familiar with the deck is definitely the right choice over something that you have no reps on.
Oh yeah, like reps is everything. Like I almost lost the semifinals in Stockholm just because of a small mistake to block with a non-attack against Chain, and you're not allowed to do that because they're gonna ping you for arcane damage, and you can't take that up on top of everything else. So I made that mistake once during that game. Had I done it twice, I would have lost that game. So like that is the super small things that you can't do when you get to the higher levels, and when you're not super familiar with the deck, you're gonna make those mistakes after like 16 games into the weekend.
Oh yeah, especially like with Oldhim, I his defense reaction ability is like really strong, right? And I feel like new players with it, they won't quite understand like when to earth pitch, when to ice pitch, and things like that can just totally disrupt your opponent.
Yeah, stuff like that. Like when you do it and you really shut down their turn, you feel awesome. But when you do it and they like okay, and then you just go down there and, and give you like 10 more damage because you failed to block an unhit effect because you lost a card, and then it's like oh crap. So you really need to understand the other decks you're playing and know when it's the right time to pull the trigger.
Yeah, like one of my favorite things is baiting people into like ninjas or anything like that, baiting them to use attack reactions to get that on hit effect that they were looking for. And you know that they're going for that, so you overblock by like one, and
Yeah,
then
exactly.
you underpitch an earth, overpitch an ice, and now they're just extremely sad.
Yeah, yeah. Like I faced one ninja, and he went with ancestral empowerment, drawing up his last card was an ancestral empowerment. So he played that to trigger his mask, and I like, yeah, that resolves. And then I ice reacted, so he put the card back. So he was like, oh, so yeah,
Yeah, it's little
yes,
things like that. All right, well
yeah,
let's talk about day one. I know you went 15-1 over the weekend. The first one you played in was in Oslo.
yeah.
Um, let's just talk about the matchups there. I think round one you played against Kano.
Yeah, it's correct. That was like super scary because like 2 days before they went, I took out Heart of Ice out of the list. I've been like having Heart of Ice in the list since I started playing Kano because I was like Kano is not fast enough to like just play AB2 and beat Kano, and then my round one ProQuest was Kano. Like that was the first time I saw a Kano in like 3.5 months. So
Of course, that's how
yeah,
it
like
happens.
every time. But yeah, no, I just played it super safe. I made sure to always have something in the arsenal. I made sure to never activate Crown before he activated an ability. Like even though I wanted to cycle stuff with Crown, I knew that if I did it, he could just respond before it happened and just kill me over AB2. So I just always responded with Crown and never activated it before, and just grinding him out. Like he was a bit newer player, so I think I got lucky in that sense. But yeah, it worked out.
Well, Kano tends to be pretty free for Oldhim, but if you're not prepared for it, it can be a little scary. They can get pretty close.
Yeah, I'm maining Kano in Blitz, so I know most of the lines, but it's a different beast in constructed.
All right, so round two you played against Viserai.
Yeah, one of my friends and one of my practice partners, we faced up in round two, and so that's always a little bit sad when you travel to another country and you face your friend. Um, But yeah, it worked out. He got me down to one when he went off. No, I think he got me to like 3 or 4, and then we had some back and forth. Rosetta just pings you for one every time you don't have an arsenal, and finally I managed to get out the blue magic grande and just end the game.
Oh, nice. Were the Viserais at these tournaments? Did you find them playing more OTK or like mid range against you?
Everybody was playing OTK in this tournament against me, or like this weekend.
Okay.
I don't know. I heard talk about both OTK and like mid-range aggro versions, so I had like sideboards for both of them. But like you don't really know what people are doing, so I was trying to like talk with other Guardian players and like what did they do against you, and I was like trying to tell them what Viserys were doing against me and stuff like that. So, but yeah, everybody was OTK.
All right. So round three we played against Starvo. How did that go?
It was interesting. Like I had a plan. Like me and my boy Shinobi 5 from the Discord. He's like we've been talking about the Starvo matchup, and we decided that we can't go defensive and we can't go aggressive. So we're gonna do both. So I went up to 64 cards with all the reacts, and I also had my Pummel Frostfang package in, and I just like alternated between playing D-React against his big attacks, and then pummeling his hand away and like forcing him to not to be uncomfortable, and it just worked like a charm. I realized pretty early that I can't really take the HP lead, but I need to keep the tempo lead, which is a pretty strange way because Awakening is such a great card.
Oh yeah, it's extremely
When you
scary.
yeah, so like I took the lead by like 10 HP, felt great, and he was like, "Oh yeah, thank you, Awakening and Pulverize." I was like, "Oh, okay." And then I like blocked most of it, was 5 HP up, and he was like, "No, yes, fine. I have one more Awakening." And then I was behind, and but I was fine. I just let him just deal enough damage. So I was always a little bit behind, but I always had tempo, so I could like swing it and just take his card away when I wanted to. So it went all right.
Yeah, I've been testing the matchup this week, and it goes the same way. Like you feel like you're in the lead, then all of a sudden they get a life lead somehow. Um, and I found that I personally want Remembrance. I almost had a Starvo deck me out, which was crazy. But I'm a big fan of Winter's Bite against them, though.
Oh yeah, yeah. Winter Spite is a great card.
All right, so let's talk about round four. Briar.
Yeah, this was on Earth Briar, like full on Earth, which was like there was the first time I really faced like I faced a lot of like Shadowmount Heroic Briar, but this was like Earth all the way. But I think he did some small misplays where he didn't really stack and the deck correctly, and he didn't really like. I think he blocked with one Shadowmount Heroic and he blocked with his Pulse, so he couldn't really get enough power on the board. And when it's just an Autumn's Touch for 7 without anything else, like it's not that exciting. So I could just grind it out and take the win.
Nice. Okay, yeah, I know Briar can high roll sometimes, so
Yeah,
that's good. Five, you played against Lexi. How did that go?
yeah, yeah. No, that was a good game. It's a newer Lexi player, but had a good day. But again, one of my other practice partners and like my best friend in Fab, he plays like Lexi a lot. So me and him have been riding that game. So like I know how Lexi is playing. So I felt really comfortable.
So then you played against Starvo. Was it the same Starvo or a different one?
No, it was a different Starvo. The first guy was from Austria, traveled up to Oslo, and then I met a local, a Norwegian guy. Um, like that game, the only thing I can say that game Sledge won me that game. Like the efficiency of that card is so much that he couldn't really like do anything late game. Um,
Yeah, the
so
Winter's Well can be just not enough sometimes, right?
yeah, I like it's so like the damage is not enough when you want to go late, and if they can afford to take one damage and just block with one card and still have a turn, you're in trouble. But if they need to block with two cards, you're going to like outdeck them, or like you're going to be more efficient than they can be.
And then you moved to the semifinals against Viserai. Was it the same one, your buddy?
No, there was
No.
another Viserai, but also a local Swede. So we've been practicing some and testing some, and I knew it was a pretty hard matchup, and I chose to go first, so he couldn't like start his rune chant generating, and because I was the higher seed, and then I just saw my hand and was like, this hand cannot do damage. So I'm just going to like I had like 3 blue and a pummel, but like none of the blue was doing damage. So I instead arsenaled one of the blue, keeping the pummel, so I could like crown away the blue to like see one more card and try to find a good card at turn 2. And then I passed back to him, and he decided to create 9 rune shots and pass to me, and I was like, oh crap.
Wow. Yep.
So without cycling his hand, he just had the correct hand and just made 9 rune chants. And then a couple of turns later, he went off with 29 rune chants, and that was just it.
Wow.
Um,
That's crazy, but I guess it'd be like
it
that sometimes.
yeah, like even though it's still a card game. Like those 60 cards can be shuffled in a good way, or they can be shuffled in a bad way. Like it happens.
Yep. Well, I mean, I'd say you did pretty well considering Oldhim's not being represented that much in these ProQuests. But then we move on to day two, where you actually won the event. So let's go through that. Round
Yeah,
one,
no,
you
yeah,
played against Starvo.
yeah. One of the guys from Finland that came over. So that was fun. Like it was a lot bigger event. So he came over and faced him. That was I think that was my hardest Starver matchup because he was really like prepared for all the lines and he like knew what to do. But again, I think that my decision to play both yellow, like red pommel and red stance in the same list made him like off balance, so he couldn't really know what I was doing from hand to hand. And like he said after that, like he felt I always had an answer or a response for whatever he was doing.
Yeah, so I know the list you played both red and yellow pummels, right?
Yeah,
So,
exactly. Like
did
I
the
think
yellow
that.
pummels do work?
Oh yeah, they were. Yeah, I think they do. And I had one hand where I played a a Frostfang. He heaved a pulverized, sitting with the tunic counter next turn, thinking he was like, yeah, I'm just gonna block with a couple of cards and then play out my pulverize and take tempo that way. And I saw a red Frostfang, and I had a red and a yellow pummel. So that turn I could like play out the Frostfang, looking at how much he's going to block, and then I could play the yellow or the red depending on how much he blocks. I just dealt 1 damage because I didn't want to really do damage. I just wanted to take his hand away. And then the next turn I could do the other thing with the red card because he left me the red pummel, and then I could use the red pummel when he tried to overblock but couldn't because I had too much damage. So, but yeah, I think the yellow pummel is really key if you're going for a disruption build because you need to consistently see the cards.
Yeah, Frostfang into pummel is just absolutely disgusting.
Yeah, and with the tunic, there's so much value there. Like you can block with a card, pitch a blue card, put in a Frostfang, and if you have the tunic up and 1 card left in either in arsenal or in hand, they always have to respect the pummel.
Yep, even if you're
And
just baiting it and just mind gaming them.
exactly, yeah. Like I always play it out with the tunic up, and I don't care. Like even if I don't have it, they're going to be super scared, and if they don't respect it, they're gonna lose a card and take damage. And Frostfang, they're gonna lose 2 cards. So yeah, it's awesome.
Nice. All right, so round 2 played against Katsu.
Yeah, I felt super comfortable starting the game because like Katsu has always been like one of Oldham's like, yeah, you can Earth React, you can block with the Chain, you can Crown. Like they're never going to get a Kodachi off. But the new Katsu is scary. Like he got me down to 11 before I really felt that I was like before I got him under control, before like I got his threats out and stuff like that. So I think that if he just got a couple of more hands, like good hands early on, I think he could have gotten me because he caught me a bit off foot and a bit maybe unprepared or whatever. But yeah, it was a rough game, but I managed to squeak through.
Nice. I've been testing against Katsu this week as well. Did you like for every single one of his Kodachis? Because I assume they're playing even bigger than that.
Yeah.
You just shield crown both Kodachis, and he was still able to put out a bunch of pressure.
Yeah, that was like he did that a lot. So like I usually crown first and then look what I get, and then if I don't get a big D-Rex or something like that, I just put in the shield, and then trying to have the crown floating as long as possible because like small stuff they can't use ancestral empowerment, stuff like that. And if I have an Earth React, I'm gonna do that on the second Kodachi. So again, floating 2 blocking. So now they know they're gonna have to do a lot to get through on the third attack.
Gotcha.
But yeah, no, he got some good combos off, and the new 100 wins lines is really good. It puts out a lot of pressure. I think he got like five out in one hand, and it just deals damage.
Oh wow, yeah. See that's different. I haven't played against the 100 wins build.
Yeah, no, it's just super aggressive and just going to put out a lot of pressure on you.
Nice. All right, so round 3, the dreaded matchup. I'm sure all Guardian players hate.
Oh yeah,
Prism managed to
yeah.
win, but how did you do it?
Oh no, it was like it was a semi-local player. He's from Uppsala, just an hour away. So I faced him like once or twice before, and I think I had a small like mental advantage because I beat him before. So he was like a bit like, okay, now I need to focus because he knew I was like on a roll. And we got put on stream because there was a stream on day 2, and sure there was no audio or anything like that or no commentators, but we sat there. So I think he did a couple of mistakes, and he like said so afterwards that I managed to squeak. Like I kept his auras down early, and then started to put on pressure as soon as he failed. I let him hit me with an aura when he pitched blue because he thought I was gonna pop it, like with one of his heralds. So he got stuck with a 3-card hand. So I just took like 7 damage just to gain tempo, and then I just started to wail on him, and he got down pretty low, and then he got out his auras, and I took like 30 damage before I managed to clear everything out, and came in with a spinal crush, and he had managed to. Yeah, with all the pressure I put on him, he didn't really think about a small couple of stuff. So he got stuck with 3 auras in hand and 1 card I could block, so he died.
Nice. As soon as you realized he didn't have a yellow in the pitch for the go again, you just took the damage. Is that what I'm understanding?
Yeah, exactly. Like you can't break it then. The damage is because he played on uh, Harold from Arsenal, playing and pitching a blue because he thought I was gonna pop it, and I was like, yeah, but it's just damage. I'm gonna take it.
Nice.
Yeah.
I'd feel so relieved after beating a prism because it's
Oh yeah, I was so like that. I was so scared when I got that draw. Like I knew, like he's a really good player, but he just, yeah.
all right. So round four played against Chain. Chain doesn't seem to go away. So how did that go?
No, Chain is really good. He's got some really good new cards. Sure, they're not blood depth, so it doesn't really help with his consistency, which is it's good for us. But it's the power level on the cards are huge, and like I managed to like he was trying to get Ursa out pretty early. Like I saw that was his game plan to win against me. This game, like the ice react was like king. I had enough of a health buffer because I got pressure early with like Command and Conquer some like a pommel or two and stuff like that to get pressure of him, and then he like decided to like tighten up, build his rune chant, and then just go. Um, but then when I saw that he was going for Ursa, I just let him play four blooded cards, and then I ice reacted to make him lose his last card, so he couldn't play anymore. And then I did that two more times, and then he just ran out of steam. Um,
So he decked out.
no, he just he was about to deck out, and then he just like couldn't really do anything. So I got tempo back and just could just put pressure on, and he just
Nice.
it was going to it was like over, but he didn't want to run the three last rounds. So yeah.
Yeah, when I play Chain, I tend to, I don't know, it's weird. It can go a bunch of different ways, but I feel like I pressure them as much as I can early, and then once they just start kind of getting to that point where you can't keep up, you just have to go on the
Yeah, that is
defensive
that
and
is usually the plan, and this game I managed to do that. I got some pressure early, and he got some really awkward hands early, so I could really take advantage of that. So, like you said, put pressure on and then just hunker down. And yeah, it worked out.
nice. All right, so round five, played against Lexi.
Yeah, face Lexi. This was a really scary Lexi. A lot of like really big dominated attacks, real ice Lexi, but not like super focused on like disruption, but more like dominated attacks and stuff like that. So again, I had enough pressure, and I think he made a couple of mistakes, and we talked about it after the game because he blocked with Heart of Ice a bit too early, which made me like I saved so many resources on my blocking because yeah, there's so many reactions that I do that I need like I'm wasting resources.
Yeah,
Um, but he just like he had a hand he liked, so he blocked with Heart of Ice and one card to keep a card, but then he lost tempo because of stuff like that. So it was pretty comfortable.
yeah. I love Heart of Ice personally. I know in my first Oldhim list, the combo for me was just Heart of Ice into a Frostfang, and it just
Yeah.
makes it that much more awkward for them because yeah, they have to overpay for their defense reactions. It's weird. Last round was against another Viserai. How did that go?
Yeah, another Viscerai, he was doing OTK, but I think hasn't really like this guy had a really good OTK, but I talked with a couple other guys. He's like a little bit of a newer player, so he hasn't really tried all the matchups, and I felt he hadn't tried against that many Guardians because he didn't run all the D reacts, so I could pressure him a lot. Like he couldn't really stop my pressure. So he needed to go off at like 10 rune chance or something like that because he was getting so low. And that's just not enough. I could just keep in my entire hand, play out Shan like Frigid, come in with an ice hammer, take tempo back, and then I never gave it back because he'd already spent his energy.
Nice. All right, so then you move on to the quarters. Is this against a normal Bravo?
Yeah, this is normal Bravo, the old school. It was comfortable. One more game where I'm gonna give the MVP to Sledge. Like that card is just insane. And as soon as we get to a later stage, and he needs to respect the Sledge, and I can every third turn Arsenal a card for free, and still come in for 6, and he needs to spend 2 cards to come in for 6 and 2 cards to block. I'm just going to gain 1 card every third round, and gaining 1 card every 3 rounds is just too much. So yeah, just a normal grind, and I won.
Nice. And you move on to the semis against a chain. Was it the same one or a different one?
No, this is a different one. This is one of the locals, like one of the best players in Sweden. He and me and him have had some really good battles in the last, like, every tournament we play. He beat me in one of the Roll to Nat semifinals. He beat me in the group stages in our nationals, but then he was on the other side of the bracket in the nationals and unfortunately lost in the semis. But like he's always there, and I knew he was like super, like he knows how to play. So I just decided to hunker down, and I wanted to let him decide the game, and my goal was like to not give him that. So he went out swinging. So I was like, okay, if you want to go out swinging, you're gonna have a hard time building a late game. So I'm gonna let you keep swinging and let you feel that you are keeping tempo. He decided to play Ursa pretty fast, and when I saw he went for that turn, I just kept 2 cards in hand with an Oakenold, attacked Ursa, got it away, and then I still was on 20 life, something like that. And he decked out. I survived at 2 HP, and it should have been 4 HP. But again, I blocked with a Tear Asunder. Like the round after I killed his Ursa, I blocked with a Tear Asunder. I just watched the game back just to see what I did wrong. Instead of pitching the Tear Asunder and blocking and to do the shield stuff. So he got one of his invert existence off to take me down a bit more. But other than that, I think I had a pretty good game.
Nice. Yeah, these chain games always seem to be pretty close. How do you feel about, like, in the arcane matchups, like against a Viscera or Chain? How would you feel about Sigil of Solace? You think it's still good or just not good enough anymore?
It depends. Like, I think Sigil of Solace is a pretty good card. I think it has its uses, and like you said, like Rosetta Torn is going to leak damage, and if you have a couple of sigils, you're going to mitigate a lot of that. But at the same time, if you sit with a sigil and they come in with an attack that has an on-hit trigger, like that value you loses on that turn is usually more than three life. Like that, you're gonna take more than 3 life if you take an on-hit trigger. So I don't think it's feasible to do it. And at the same time, if you need, so then you're forced to block with the other 3 cards, and the only card you're gonna have left in hand is sigil. And you usually want to arsenal, so then you're gonna have to arsenal the sigil, and then you usually want to use the crown, so you don't lose the value of the crown because that's the best card in the game. So then your sigil is going to the bottom, and then you're gonna have the sigil when it's late and they're attacking you with 7 rune chance and like 12 attacks. So
Yeah, I get that. It's one of those cards where it's like, if you can play it safely, where you still have like a threat, it's really good. But if you get stuck in that situation, it's
yeah, like if you see it the first 3-4 turns, it's going to be awesome because you just have a bigger buffer. But it's so awkward. Like I don't think you can. I think Flesh and Blood is starting to become such a like such a tempo game. Like the way you need to block, if you need to block with the wrong card, or you need to like if you like, it's not about damage. Damage is like, it doesn't matter. It's all about who has the tempo, and tempo is, there's so many different ways to have tempo in this game. It's so hard to define. But Sigil is a card that loses you tempo no matter what you do, unless like you have so much tempo that the other guy isn't doing anything, and if he's not doing anything, you're probably winning anyway. So yeah, I don't think you can run it anymore. I'm not sure. There's probably some like pure fatigue builds that can run it because the deck is so good on fatigue anyway. So then it's just going to like enhance your plan. But if you're not like on a full fatigue, you have some other cards that are not super great at blocking, and you also have the sigils, I think you're gonna just lose.
there. Then you go to the finals and you play Lexi. I believe it's the same Lexi that you played earlier in the day.
Yeah, it's the same like I played earlier in the day, so I knew what his deck was doing. I knew he had like the 3 Weave Ice for Dominate. I know he had the 3 Red Ice Quakes, the like all of that, the attack reactions and stuff like that. So I just like I was tired, like 16 games in 2 days, and like Oldhim is it's 40-minute games at least every time. So it's like I was tired, so I was like I just decided I was not going to lose to stupid stuff, and with knowing you're not on the clock like you usually are, I just played it super safe and didn't let him do anything. Um, it's not the most exciting game to watch, but I just blocked.
Yeah,
If I
yeah.
had a card left, I hit him with an ice hammer, and he just took it, and then he kept swinging again until he ran out of cards.
You got to do what you got to do for the win. When you finally won, what was the feeling like? How'd you feel?
Oh, it was such a relief. Like I've been I've been practicing, like, and especially doing it with Oldhim, like the deck I wanted to take all the time, but like I was struggling earlier in the week, like should I do it really or should I do something else? But then I like decided like, no, just do it. And then after my loss in the semis the day before, I guess Viscera was also struggling, like, okay, should I really do this? And then it's like, no, I need to do it. And then it was such a relief, like knowing all the hours you put in, like I've been practicing this since November, like all the lines and similar decks, and just swapping a couple of cards here and there, and just super grinding, and to really like see that the hard work pays off. It's such a relief, and doing it on like in your local store, like
I,
with a bunch of your friends around to cheer you on. It was awesome.
yep, I've been there, and it's definitely a good feeling. Everyone's happy for you, giving you hugs and stuff. It's pretty cool.
Oh yeah.
All right. So, would you make any changes to the deck? I know it's hard to
Yes.
say after you win,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, but yeah, I don't think the deck is complete at all. I think I think my deck was a pure meta call. I decided beforehand that I cannot lose to Viserai. I need to beat Viserai because I know there's a bunch of Viserais that are good in my meta, and I also know that, like, sure, I faced a Prism and he's a good player, but he's kind of the only good players that have jumped on the Prism bandwagon, or like he's been on it forever, and everybody else is just like they're either super new to Prism or they haven't made the switch yet. Like the guy I faced in the semis, the Chain guy, he's been practicing Prism, but I knew he wasn't going to make the switch yet because he wasn't really comfortable in on the deck yet. So it was like it was a meta call for me that I knew, like, it's my home turf. I knew most of the players there, and like I knew like 30 of the 47 players there, and knew I played before. So it was like, okay, if I'm not gonna play face that many prisms, how do I beat Visrai? And I just built that deck. And then also I needed to have a plan for Stravo because that was the new hotness. I'm looking at what do I need to cheat for next week, because next week people are going to adapt a lot. So I don't think the deck is done. It was like that deck was good that day. I don't think it's good anymore. Like the shell is there, and if you want to run an aggressive Oldhim list, and like that is a good place to start. But you need to change a couple of cards. Like I changed 6 cards from Saturday to Sunday, and it made all the distance. Like, yeah, just a couple of cards here and there can do so much for you.
yeah, I also play Prism. It was actually my first deck, and for all the people that are wanting to jump on the Prism train, it's not that easy. Prism's a hard deck to play at a high level. So
Yeah, like yeah, that's what I said. Like I had some of my practice partners. We talked about the Prism like matchup, and like how risky it was for me to like not go there. And I was like, okay, if they're not one of the better plays there, and they just started to play in Prism, it does like I'm like if they not gonna know what you're doing, so they're probably gonna make mistakes.
yeah, they can do so many
Um,
weird plays that it's just a lot of people don't see the lines, and they just
yeah, like just a small mistake I talked about earlier. Like he pitched a blue thinking I was going to pop it, and I caught him doing it and didn't pop it, and he was like stuck with 3 cards. He was planning to play more, and he was like, oh crap, I can't do anything anymore. So small stuff like that, if you do that, like that can be a game. So yeah, I don't. I think you really need to know what you're doing if you're gonna play Prism.
nice. All right. So was there an overperforming card that you had, or like your favorite card in the deck that just did a lot of work for you over the tournaments?
Blue Macho Grande, like that card is so good.
Did you? Okay, I have a question about that. I know you're playing Tunic, so Do you wait for that third tunic resource to pitch two blues, or do you just slam down three blues to play Macho Grande sometimes?
It all depends on when in the game it is. Most of the time, it's pretty easy because like if you see a Macho Grande, it's either your tunic is either on 3 or it's on 2 or 1. If it's on 2, you just arsenal it and know you can play it next turn. If it's on 1, yeah, now you're gonna have a problem. You're not going to be able to play it unless you're gonna lose tempo. So then you need to like find one more card to play it. But from Arsenal, it's usually doable. But like Macho Grande for me, I think I played the card like 4 times and I won 4 games playing that card.
So use it as
Uh,
a closer every time.
yeah, yeah. It got to the point where late in the tournament when I had like any of my blue block 3 cards in hand and Macho, I always blocked with other cards than Macho and pitched Macho because I knew that I wanted to see it late.
Do you think
Because it just
Macho is playable if you're not playing Tunic, or do you think you have to be playing Tunic?
there's probably a deck that runs like I think it can be really good in like if you play Tectonic, but I don't think Oldhim wants to play Tectonic. But no, I would not play it if I play like Heart of Ice or cards like that or some other like if you have search tokens from because that is your game plan, then I think you can do it. But otherwise, I wouldn't play it. Search token or a tunic. Otherwise, the value is not there because you need to take so much damage, and it's a closer. And a closer card you cannot like need to play from a 4 card hand because if that is how you win the game, you should have won it anyway because you have so much life. If they cannot pressure a single card out of your hand. Um,
Got it. And was there an underwhelming card that just, it was kind of whatever?
yeah, I took out Thunderquake after day 1. But that was mostly like I know it's really good for Rouse, but I found myself not really like the heave mechanic. I didn't want to do because I didn't want to lose tempo because if something happened that I didn't play it or that I need to play it when I had something better to play, I didn't want to get stuck with it. Um, so I decided to take that out, and I think that Rouse became worse because I did it. So I probably need to like rethink all that. Like how do I make sure that Rouse is consistent enough?
Yeah,
So I think
Thunderquake's one
yeah,
of those cards, right, where like it's really good, but if they see that and they do something crazy and they force you to dump your hand, it makes you take even more damage because you need to get it out of your arsenal, and it's just
yeah, exactly. And like I think there is some list that can use the card. And I think it's going to be like a MVP in some lists and some builds. But I don't think my playstyle or my list supports the card. So then the question is, does that card support my list? And I decided Sunday morning that it didn't. That was the card I needed to go. And other than that, I took out Celos, red Celos belting because I felt again that it just damage and damage is everybody does damage nowadays with all the cars everybody has. Like everybody's doing damage. That's not how you win.
yeah. I feel that way too, like in Oldhim especially, because I don't know. Sometimes you just don't have that attack card in your hand, and you're just swinging with the hammer, and it's
Yeah,
just
exactly. Like I think you need it if you're in a prism heavy meta because you need to pressuring their shields and their auras, so you need to go again. And for that reason, the card is good. But that's the only thing the card is good at. Like you don't take tempo against anybody else with it because it's only damage and like yeah, people have figured out that they can take damage and still win games and how to do it and when to do it and Celos belting is not helping you take or keep tempo.
got it. All right, and the last question, you got your invite. Do you plan on attending the ProQuest in New Jersey? I know it's far from where you are and COVID and everything, but just curious about that.
Definitely gonna try. We have a couple of other people from Sweden going. The guy that I lost to in on day 1, he got his invite on day 1. We have 2 guys in Sweden that are on the top 100 in 90-day XP and are trying to stay that way. and then we have a couple of one or two guys that are interested in going to the calling, and we still have a couple of chance to get invites to people. So we are trying to get a group together and go, and I'm really wanting to go, and yeah, it would be so awesome, and I really hope I can be there to meet everybody and just play the game for 3 days straight with just awesome people,
Yeah,
and yeah.
yeah, it sounds awesome. I have my ProQuest next weekend, hoping I don't O2 drop. Um, so we'll see how that goes.
Yeah.
Do you have any shout outs or where can people find you?
Oh yeah, I again want to shout out Shinobi 5 on the Discord. Like that guy has been giving so much to everybody, and me and him have been bouncing ideas of everybody. And I want to shout out Joel, who was the judge at the Stockholm event, and he's been like my brother in arms in Fab. Like me and him have been like working together a lot, and like he's been like my main supporter, and he's been taking like the judge role in our community because nobody else wants to do it. So he's just like, okay, I'm gonna do that for everybody else, so everybody else can play the game. And if you want to find me, I'm just Tobias Lindh on the Discord, and yeah, that's mostly what I'm doing. Like my social medias are mostly like work related, so it's not that much fab on any of them. So mostly on the Discord.
Gotcha. All right. Yeah, I'll put all your info down in the description. And I just want to congratulate you once again and thank you for taking the time to do this. Hope to have you
Thank
back
you.
on in the future.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. See y'all next time.